The flag salute. Ready, begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Okay, so C2, we got a closed session report, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives, Diana Rigby, and information was exchanged, no action was taken. We're going to move on to C3, approval of the minutes, and we have two sets of minutes to approve. We have 3A and B, approval of the minutes of the special board meeting closed session on January 8th, 2024. Any questions from the board? No? Okay. Public comment?
Ms. Thomas, please let me know when. Thank you. So in regard to the special board meeting, several requests have been put in your direction for the audio recording of whatever the board reported out from that meeting, and a formal public information request has been filed on that topic. Thus far, no response has been provided other than stating that it's not routine to publish that on the website. And so the topic is certainly one of concern for many employees in the district, as well as union leadership. And we again request the audio recording that you are required to produce. Thank you.
All right. May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the special board meeting closed session of January 8th, 2024?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 9th, 2024. Any questions from the board? No? Okay. Public comment for the minutes of January 9th.
Ms. Thomas? Thank you. I failed to say good evening, so good evening, folks. Hello. Nice to see you. For those who don't know me, I'm sure you all do, but for those in the community that don't know me, I have a child in the district. I am a Carpinteria resident. I am a faculty member at CUSD. Although those roles provide me an insight into a variety of issues associated with CUSD, I'm here this evening in my role as the primary elected representative of district employees, the employees union president. Let the minutes show that the district was reminded that you are responsible both professionally and legally to separate the union's public comments provided on behalf of district employees with my role as a parent, a community member, and a teacher. Your failure to do this over the last few years has literally cost the district several $1 million of taxpayer money that could and should have been invested in programs, resources, and opportunities for district students, employees, and their families. Let the minutes show that immediately following the superintendent's report at minute 1725 on the January 9th board meeting video, the school board and community were informed of a significant event that Superintendent Rigby did not share with the community. Let the minutes show that Superintendent Rigby failed at that time to share that after approximately a year and a half and 20 hearing dates, the Commission of Professional Competence had delivered its decision regarding the district's effort to fire and mischaracterize the performance of the union president. Let the minutes show that as a result, not only has the superintendent's illegal and anti-union attacks cost the district $2.5 million by her own accounting, but the district is now responsible for paying approximately $1 million more in taxpayer dollars just to make those directly attacked and harmed somewhat whole again, to include paying all of the accused's back pay and health care costs, previously denied by the district, as well as a significant portion of the court costs and all of the accused legal fees. And let the minutes show that the superintendent and school board had hoped that none of this would be mentioned at the January 9th meeting and didn't bring it up until it was by a member of the public. Let the minutes show that based on the superintendent's prepared response offered at minute 2043, the district appears to be preparing to appeal the court's unanimous decision, that is, a unanimous decision by a commission of 3 that even included a panelist hand-selected by the district. Let the minutes show that the $1 million spent on the appeal, approximately $1 million that will be spent on an appeal, will come directly out of the district's general fund. That is even more spent to delay the accountability district leadership would like to avoid, instead of investing those dollars on programs, opportunities, and resources that could otherwise be directed at students and their families. That's sufficient. Thank you.
Any further comment on the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 9th? Okay. May I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of January 9th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Do we have any questions from the board? Any clarifying questions? No? Okay. Public comment on approval of the agenda and consent agenda.
Thank you. So at the last 4 board meetings, the union notified the district that it is misusing the administration of the consent agenda to advance public business without transparency. And once again, the district is engaging in this clear violation of the Brown Act. It does so when it passes through a variety of unique items on the consent agenda, which have not previously been brought before the public as independent items. The practice places restrictions on the public discourse in that it limits the public's comment to a single 3-minute opportunity on all items collectively, versus providing the public an opportunity to comment more thoroughly on the value of each individual item and associated expenditure. Therefore, union leadership again asked the district to cease and desist from engaging in this Brown Act violation, which would in turn promote public transparency and in the governance of the district. Although union leadership cannot support the process for endorsing these consent agenda items, the union does support most of these expenditures conceptually. We encourage the school board to support items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. Field trips to CME and the Maritime Museum for elementary students provide highly contextual learning. The annual FFA Leadership Conference offers high school FFA leaders a unique opportunity to further and develop their skills and talents. And dance classes for kids during expanded learning sound like obviously value-added investments that directly impact student experiences. As for items 4 and 5, we have several concerns. In regard to item 4, district administrators sure do like their conferences in Palm Springs. But in an era when the district has been announcing that it will need to pursue layoffs due to the lack of funding, and when training and communication can so efficiently be conducted remotely and online, is this the right use of these taxpayers' dollars? Perhaps the board should consider how necessary it is for a supervisor to attend a 4-day conference in Palm Springs to be paid for out of the very after-school program fund, which is currently being reduced. Couldn't this money be better spent on students and the after-school program resources needed? And in regard to item 5, this is the first time this $30,000 agreement is being brought before the public. And by pushing this through the consent agenda, the district does not provide adequate opportunity for a thorough examination of the expenditure. Beyond stating that Find Help, quote, connects people to resources, the paperwork to the consent agenda item doesn't even clarify who exactly is directly benefits from this service. While the 22-page contract covers a variety of legal exclusions, invoice schedules, and billing information, it does not provide any detailed information
Time is up.
about who benefits. Thank you.
Okay, may I get a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Nope. Okay. May I get a roll call, please?
Eric,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
I'm aye.
Okay, moving on to our student representative report. Isabella?
Good evening. Tomorrow, January 24th, CHS will be hosting a Cash for College workshop to assist parents with completing their FAFSA application. The workshop will be held in the library from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. This workshop is to help with the support from CalSOAP. The Junior Carpinteria of the Year application is open and available on Parent Square and on the Class of 2024 Google Classroom. Students in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade are encouraged to submit their application for membership in the California Scholarship Federation. Students should refer to the application for membership requirements. Applications are available in the main office. Finally, we want to encourage everyone to continue to support our athletic teams. Your participation and encouragement is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for our student representative? Nope. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to come. And at this time, do you have any public comment on our student representative report? Please feel free to step up to the podium. Okay, not seeing any. We will move on to our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'll begin tonight with appreciation. I'd like to recognize our IT team, Aaron LaPlante and John McClure, for their outstanding professional work in resolving all network, internet, and computer issues with efficiency and accuracy. My next item is the governor's 24-25 state budget proposal. Governor Newsom released the state budget proposal on January 10th with a budget gap of $37.9 billion, not the expected budget gap of $68 billion as projected by the Legislative Analyst's Office. In addition to reserve withdrawals, including the Proposition 98 Rainy Day Fund, proposals include reductions, internal borrowing, funding delays, funding shifts, and non-Proposition 98 deferrals. The governor is trying to maintain funding for all existing ongoing K-12 programs. However, the proposed 0.76% COLA will be insufficient to cover actual cost increases for LCF districts and categorical programs. The May revision budget may be worse than these current January projections. The next item is congratulations to our CHS students, Sarah Faquinos, Evelyn Calkins, and Angel Santana. They won first, second, and third place, respectively, in the Martin Luther King Jr. Santa Barbara Poetry and Essay Contest. We also extend our congratulations to their English teacher, Chrissy Gilbert. CMS art students and their teacher, Mr. Ethington, have collaborated with AHA to display their art at the Linda Fairley Carpinteria Arts Center through February 3rd. The reception celebrating the CMS students is happening right now, Tuesday afternoon, 4:30 to 6:30 at the Art Center on Linden Ave. My next item refers to the school accountability report cards. Every school in California is required by state law to publish a school accountability report card by February 1st. The report card contains information about the condition and performance of each California public school. Additionally, all local schools are required to prepare the Local Control and Accountability Plan, which we know as the LCAP, which describes how they intend to meet annual school-specific goals for all students with specific activities to address state and local priorities. Data reported in an LCAP is consistent with the report card data. The CUSD School Accountability Report Cards are posted on our district website at www.cusd.net. SBCEO has transmitted our first interim financial report, December 2023, with a positive certification to the State Department of Education. CUSD will be able to meet its financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent fiscal years while maintaining the required minimum level of reserve for economic uncertainties. And then the last item is the update on Measure U. The RFP for the lease-leaseback contractor for the Canalino Learning Center has been advertised with a deadline for January 31st. Selection of the best value proposal is planned for February 13th, and the board will award the contract on February 27th. Construction is expected to begin on the Canalino campus during March 2024 with a completion date of November 2024.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Nope. Public comment on the superintendent's report. Please feel free to step up to the podium.
So the superintendent's report addresses the governor's 2024 and 2025 state budget proposal. Union leadership wants to provide a little more detail on that topic and what it means for CUSD. Governor Newsom presented in his initial 24-25 budget proposal a less dire projection than had been anticipated. Appreciate you for recognizing that, Ms. Rigby. With state reserves at all-time highs and prior year budget actions anticipated that had anticipated the downturn in deficit, California is well positioned for these conditions. The governor's January proposal has measures including cuts, borrowing, funding delays, and deferrals. And it relies on state and Prop 98 rainy day funds set aside for just this purpose. For public education, the budget proposal keeps funding fairly flat compared with the current year, and no dire cuts are proposed. In specific regard to Prop 98, the governor's proposal includes a plan to maintain the budgeted funding levels through 24-25 to avoid cuts to school and community college districts. The revised Prop 98 amount also factors in the rebenching of the funding formula to account for the expansion of universal transitional kindergarten and the implementation of the Prop 28 arts and music in schools funding. The governor's proposal revises deposit amounts into the reserve from the rainy day fund. The fund will be drawn, from the fund will be drawn $3 billion that can be used for 23-24 and $2.7 billion that can be used for 24-25, still leaving a healthy balance of $3.8 billion at the end of 24-25. The school district reserve cap of 10% is still in effect, meaning that the district, our district or districts like CUSD, cannot hold more than 10% in reserves 3 years out. They must spend the money on their students and district families. This 10% reserve cap prevents school districts from hoarding money to increase the district bond ratings or use public dollars to play politically conservative, politically conservative forces and interests in the community, or to plan with the same confidence to set money aside for future costly legal attacks against elected employee leaders. Notwithstanding that CUSD is a basic aid district, the governor's budget estimates the statutory COLA at 0.76 for 24-25, which is lower than the legislative analyst estimated it would be. However, the bargaining partners in CUSD, that is district leadership and the union, are still bargaining dollars tied to the current COLA for 23-24, which came in at 8.22 cost of living adjustment. So just some information. Thank you.
Incorrect information.
Any further comment on the superintendent's report? Please feel free to step up to the podium. Okay, not seeing any. We're now moving on to public comment on items not on this agenda. So if you would like to speak on something, a topic that is not identified in an agenda item, please feel free to step up to the podium. Please state your name for the record if you're comfortable doing so, and each speaker will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, board members. My name is Cristina Hernandez de Lira, and I am a daughter is in the CDS program. I'd like to talk to you about including all members of this community. Since 74.9% of our student population is Latino, why aren't the board meetings translated into Spanish? Choosing to have English-only board meetings restricts access to essential district decisions concerning this demographic, restricts exclusivity, and does not accommodate the diverse linguistic backgrounds of our community partners. Why doesn't the board want to communicate effectively with all members of our educational community, especially those with the most disadvantages? Doesn't this choice by the board reinforce the false belief that Latino parents do not care about their students, education because they do not actively participate in and support their children. How can Latino parents participate if they lack access to crucial information delivered by this board in a language we understand? Promoting understanding, involvement, and collaboration among all educational partners is critical. If language barriers exist, addressing them through bilingual communication and outreach efforts can help bridge gaps and create more supportive educational environment for all parents, regardless of their linguistic background. Why doesn't the board take these steps to include Latinos?
Thank you very much. And I just like to clarify, we do have interpretation services. They just need to be requested when you get here so we know if you need translation. Also, the board agendas and minutes, when you go to the website, there is an option to change languages that it is in. So it's available there as well. Just so that's clear. Thank you. Next speaker, please feel free to step up.
Buenas noches, miembros de la Junta. Gracias por esta oportunidad de hablar con todos ustedes. Mi nombre es Rocío. Mi hijo Alan ha asistido a la escuela en carpintería desde el kinder y utiliza solamente unas pocas palabras para comunicarse. Mi hijo tiene autismo severo. A él se le dio un dispositivo AAC cuando estaba en kinder y yo nunca he recibido una capacitación para poder ayudar a mi hijo con el programa. El distrito nunca me ha dado esa capacitación. Creo que todos los padres deberíamos de tener una formación cada año para así poder ayudar a nuestros hijos a comunicarse eficazmente. Me enteré que una estudiante de la escuela Carpinteria Middle School está recibiendo servicios de servicios privados de lenguaje. ¿Por qué mi hijo no puede recibir estos servicios también? ¿No deberían todos los estudiantes recibir los mismos servicios? En una reciente reunión en la escuela, el terapeuta del habla me dijo que él no está ayudando a mi hijo Alan a comunicarse adecuadamente con su programa, puesto que él no está entrenado lo suficientemente para ayudarlo. ¿Cómo él podría ayudarle si no ha tenido la capacitación para el programa que mi hijo requiere? Yo lo único que quiero es que mi hijo aprenda a decir que necesita ayuda, que algo le duele, a comunicarse eficazmente con las personas. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with you all. My name is Rocio, and my son Alan has been attending school in Carpinteria since kindergarten. My son has severe autism. He uses only a few words to communicate. He was given an AAC device when he was in kindergarten to communicate. The district has never given me training on how to use this device. I think all parents should receive training each year. I have learned that one student at Carpinteria Middle School receives services from a private speech therapist. Why can't my son receive the same services? Also, shouldn't all students receive the same services that if they are all using AAC devices? At a recent meeting with his speech therapist, he told me that he is not helping my son to communicate using his AAC device as he is not familiar with the program himself. How can he help support and help my son to communicate? The only thing I want is my son to be able to communicate and to ask for help if something hurts, if he needs anything. Please give my son a therapist who can help and support him.
Thank you.
Please help me.
This is my son communication device.
Please help me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Lily. My daughter also goes to CMS. Thank you, board members, for the opportunity to share my concerns today. I'm here to discuss the importance of safety in the special education classrooms at CMS. One key element contributing to a secure learning environment is the teacher-to-student ratio. One key element is the teacher-to-student ratio. Many statistics are available at the National Center for Education Statistics that show the student success rate is linked to lower class sizes, particularly imperative for our population. Currently, our special education teachers are being asked to cover for 2 teachers who have recently resigned due to unreasonable workloads, unsupportive administration, and lack of compensation/benefits. A lower class ratio allows educators to better monitor and address specific needs, fostering a safer and more inclusive environment. Prioritizing safety and maintaining appropriate class sizes ensures a more effective learning atmosphere and a better focus on the individual needs of our children. For example, my daughter Chloe requires, per her IEP, a one-on-one aide. Due to the recent teacher shortage, paraprofessionals are being asked to monitor additional students instead of the district hiring more teachers and more paraprofessionals to support them. We were informed by the district administration that only one more special education teacher would be hired from the start of the school year instead of two. There have been instances where children's safety were put at risk because there was not enough coverage. As parents, we want to ensure that our children are getting the best possible resources available, and currently the administration is not providing that assurance. I'm concerned that if this continues, we'll lose more teachers and paraprofessionals who seem to be the only district personnel that have a full grasp of what is needed to run the special education classrooms. We have met several times over the last year. We've seen little movement in addressing these needs. When asked questions in meetings, parents are often dismissed by the principal and the special education director. We're told, no, that is not possible, or no, we're not discussing that. Our participations and concerns are rarely met with problem-solving strategies. It is difficult being a caregiver for a child with special needs. There is a lack of compassion in these meetings. All children need to access their education, but in order for our children to access theirs, they need to have an admin team that generally collaborates with parents, prioritizes the critical specialized adaptive equipment to meet their goals. We need the district's high-level administrators to consider why they took their positions and advocate for special education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please feel free to step right up. Thank you.
All right. Hi, my name is Jacqueline, and this is my mom. We have Carlito Serrano, who is in the special education. On the 18th,
Okay. Hello, thank you for listening to me today. My name is Maribel Jimenez. I'm worried because my son Carlos Jimenez has severe communication issues. Most of the time, he speaks using one word, and people who do not know him often do not understand what he says. For this reason, Carlos was given an AAC device to communicate. Another parent told me that only one student at CMS is receiving AAC services from a private speech therapist to support this child's needs. On Thursday, January 18th, Carlos was hit in the head with a ball at the end of lunch. His teacher and I thought he had an instructional assistant with him during lunch. That did not happen. Carlos used a one-word description and gesture to tell us what happened. Another student was there and was able to give a partial description. I was shocked that his teacher did not know that Carlos did not have an IA support from an instructional assistant at lunch. Last year, Carlos went off campus because no one was watching him. Again, Carlos cannot speak clearly and only uses single words. This is a safety problem, and my son deserves a safe environment at school. I need to know he is safe at all times. Carlos needs a one-on-one instructional assistant support at nutrition and lunch because he cannot tell others if something happened or he needs help. Only one student at CMS is getting AAC services from a speech therapist the district is providing. I'm not trained to support Carlos's communication using AAC device. Parents need this training. Why aren't all students with AAC devices receiving the same service as this one student is getting? This district should support my son Carlos and other students with AAC devices. All students should receive the same services, not just one student.
Thank you.
The union was going to mention an email we sent reaffirming our encouragement that the district please promptly find availability for collective bargaining during routine working hours. But the comments of these parents compel us to share a different message. It is clear that there are more pressing matters, and you just heard some of them. To be clear, I'm referring to the utterly deteriorated conditions of the CMS Special Education Program under the leadership of Ms. Rigby, Principal O'Shea, and SPED Director Sugar. For months now, the board has been advised that the CMS SPED program was coming unglued. First, SPED faculty and support staff had shared their professional concerns with Principal O'Shea and the SPED director, but those were ignored. Then, when it was clear that the promised academic and human resources had not been provided this year, efforts to privately again advise district leadership, including Ms. Rigby, were made, and they were similarly dismissed. As a result, a new teacher went on a leave of absence not to return. CMS SPED faculty and union leadership again attempted to privately inform district leadership of the negative impact on students and student learning, and once again the district ignored the conditions and injuries being reported. When both CMS teachers and parents and union leadership came forward at a board meeting in December, district leadership responded with contempt, going so far as to actually threaten the SPED faculty with disciplinary action if they continued to exercise their legal right to communicate on topics of administrative negligence. If you'd like to see the disciplinary letter, let us know, please. When parents, CMS SPED faculty, and union leadership requested that the topic be agendized at the next board meeting, the board so that the board could be brought into the discussion transparently. The district instead provided the community with a glossy PowerPoint about the SPED program, which thoroughly failed to address the significant challenges plaguing the program. And since then, several SPED special education instructional aides have also resigned from the district, and another CMS SPED teacher has also resigned. And the best that district leadership could do was to call a meeting coincidentally at the same time as the last school board meeting, where CMS administration confirmed that the district was, and I quote, acting within the boundaries of the law. I think we all know that's a pretty low bar, even if it is difficult for district leadership to meet. Should CMS special education parents and employees, are they supposed to be satisfied with that response when all the while students are being directly negatively impacted and injured? We could go on. Instead, union leadership begs you to listen to what these parents and families said to you tonight when you get home. Watch the video again, please. And I remind you, as stated by the superintendent herself, who seems to often forget what she just said, the board is expected to direct resources where they are most needed and ensure accountability to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment for items not on the agenda? If you'd like to speak to something that is not currently on the agenda, now is the time. I'll give you a moment. Okay. Okay. Moving on to F. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. We have we received correspondence from a community member that asked their letter be read into the record this evening during open public comment. Okay. President Diamond and CUSD trustees, we are writing to express our support for you as elected stewards of our schools and our utter disappointment in the outcome of the latest hearings on Jay Hotchner's termination. Thank you, trustees, for your decision to remove an unqualified and predatory teacher from local classrooms. You have protected so many children, including our 2 6th graders. We were not so fortunate with our 9th grader, and would be outraged if Mr. Hotchner ever set foot again in a classroom at a school our children attend. CMS has been a much better and safer environment since this wholly justified termination. The positive cultural changes at this school are evident every day. Superintendent Rigby's statement at the January 9 school board meeting was 100% on point. She mustn't let students into a classroom with a person whom she wouldn't trust her own grandchildren. The costs of this saga have already been too high, both monetarily and in many other forms. In addition to our family being personally involved and victimized by Jay Hotchner, we have read the report enumerating his dozens of sickening accounts of misconduct against other children. The report is heartbreaking. It is even more heartbreaking each time Mr. Hotchner speaks at public meetings and celebrates himself as an exonerated victor. The cost of that injustice on the families of the dozens of victims is horrible. What are we to think when the perpetrator gloats about being made whole by the school district? This outcome is an embarrassment to the institution of public education, and Jay Hotchner exemplifies the problems that arise when a bad actor is encouraged through lack of accountability. Of all the teachers we've had in Carpinteria Unified School District, he is the only one who has ever caused ire or engendered anything but gratitude in our household. We cannot stand by in silence as the perpetrator is embedded to further slander the school district, school board, administrators, and his victims. No matter the cost, please continue to pursue justice until there is no doubt remaining of what is right and wrong, so we can know our schools have a mechanism in place allowing for the protection of students from malignant adults. Thank you. So the submitted letter was read into the record as requested. Moving on to educational services. 2023 School Accountability Report Card. The board is asked to approve the 2023 Schools Accountability Report Card for Carpinteria Unified School District schools. February 1 of each year, every school in California is required by state law to publish a School Accountability Report Card, SARC. The SARC contains information about the condition and performance of each California public school. Under the local control funding formula, all local educational agencies are required to prepare a local control and accountability plan, LCAP, which describes how they intend to meet annual school-specific goals for all pupils with specific activities to address state and local priorities. Additionally, data reported in an LCAP is to be consistent with data reported in the SARC. Do we have any questions from the board? No? Okay. Public comment on the 2023 Schools Accountability Report Card, please step up to the podium.
Rather than allow the community member to mischaracterize my performance again, were you going to tell the community members here tonight whether you were going to respond to anything they said, or I'm sure they're very busy and have a lot going on, or are they going to wait here for the rest of the night to find out you have nothing else to add?
Okay, so I will, although several of them were here, not everybody was here the last time. Public comment, the board may not take action on any public comment that was not on the agenda. We can ask for clarification, offer clarification, or give staff direction related to public comment not on this agenda. So we aren't going to have a discussion about what you brought forward to us. But I will mention that I have asked for an update of where we are in the checklist of all the items that the consultant asked to have brought. And I know that there has been some back and forth in the purchasing, back orders, things like that, but it is something that I have been keeping track of, and I want to make sure that all of that is implemented properly. So, thank you. But we will not be able to take any action on what you brought to us tonight, and yeah, I'm sorry, I can't offer much on at this point right now.
So the board avoids its opportunity to discuss this in public, and by the way, one would think that you might have looked for that checklist of what has been accomplished according to all the promises made, false promises apparently, before you arrived tonight.
No, I've already looked at it, and I
had a
have the
clue
update.
what it actually said before you stood before the community this evening after months.
I'm not
going
going to have this back and forth conversation with you,
I'm
sir.
not either. So
your time already
moving
began.
on to educational services. Thank you. The agenda item is a stellar example of how 3 minutes of public commentary is thoroughly inadequate for the purposes of discussing the school accountability report cards in any professional depth. It's baffling to see that such a huge topic comes before the board and none of you had even a question on the topic. You must be such experts. There's a SARC report for each school site, and the average SARC report contains almost 20 pages of data, including but not limited to school and district contact information, school description and mission statement, student enrollment by grade level and student group, teacher preparation and placement to include teachers hired without credentials and misassignments and credentialed teachers assigned out of field, the availability of textbooks and other instructional materials, school facility conditions and planned improvements, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding the state standards by student groups, test results in math, science, language arts, California physical fitness test results, opportunities for parental involvement, chronic absenteeism, suspensions and expulsions, safety, the school safety plan, average class size and class size distribution, ratio of pupils to academic counselors, student support services, and staff. And then some very telling information about the expenditures per pupil and school site teacher salaries and teacher salaries versus administrative salaries, yet not a single question did you ask our superintendent? Not one question. There is so much information in here, and although folks often scratch their heads and wonder what's wrong with those of us who find this data fascinating, there is much to be learned if you take the time to dig into it. And much of which provides very clear indicators about what is and what is not working in the district. Even the casual observer doesn't have to engage in tremendous mental gymnastics to get a sense of why CUSD is experiencing the consistent, often self-inflicted challenges it does. And you, our board members, are not supposed to be casual observers. So we ask that you dig into the SARC reports and bring your questions forward in public to both the superintendent and to union leadership. Then consider the response you receive and ask yourselves which seems the most accurate. When you listen to the members of the community and people share their actual experiences of working on the ground with kids in these schools every single day. And then ask follow-up questions and demand answers. The time's come. Thank you.
Any further public comment on the 2023 Schools Accountability Report Card? Okay. May I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the 2023 Schools Accountability Report Cards.
I'll second.
Okay, and now we can have discussion. Does anybody have discussion on this? Okay, I do. I'm trying to wrap my head around the teachers without credentials and misassignments. And there was a huge uptick in the 21-22 as compared to the 2021 year at the middle school and across the district. And I believe that was lent to, let's see here. Because we were struggling with hiring, or what is the misassignments?
Post-COVID.
Thank you, that's what
It was the year after
yeah.
COVID, and you remember all the
Right.
challenges we had with staffing,
And,
as every other school district did in California.
okay. And I'm just gonna point out we had this discussion with the LCAP, but again, CASP scores, the percent that met or exceeded, is wholly unacceptable. It's however people feel about the testing itself. I'm not sure what this is, and this isn't a right now. This has been an ongoing trend. It's been low always for quite some time. And I'm struggling with the idea of we just move on with it. But then when I look at the report that was, I believe, in your superintendent's report from the last meeting that compares this, but then looks at the GPAs and the Ds and Fs, and it's just such a mismatch. And so I look at this, and if you're just looking at this, it's very frustrating. I don't know how to get, I feel like over the years, the district has done many different things to help increase scores and student achievement. And yet this mechanism just kind of shows the same thing always. And it's abysmal. And it's not just us, it's across the state.
Well,
but
it is, but one of the things that I've noticed, and I didn't go back and look at the data prior to the real implementation of Common Core, but it seems to me that when we, because that was kind of phased in.
yeah,
But as we started implementing Common Core fully, I've just noticed this trend of our test scores declining, and I don't know if anyone's done a comparison in the state or in the country of Common Core, and how the implementation of that and these test scores has correlated. But that's one of the things that has kind of stood out at me, because I've been doing this for a little while, and I've also noticed that you would expect the test scores to go up as our English learner population has gone down, because I think it used to be close to 40% we were English learner, and now I think district-wide we're less than 20. I think it's 18,
yes.
Yeah. And then, but we've also seen declining enrollment, and that's throughout the state and the county. But it's striking to me that, I don't know if we could find that information anywhere, as far as the implementation of Common Core and the decline in test score. I know it kind of crossed over with a lot of these, we had problems with the fire and the mudslides, but then COVID came along, and so there's a lot of factors there. But that one thing, because I think we started fully implementing Common Core in 15-ish, 16.
but we've been doing it long enough that
I think what
I just don't.
I'm saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying maybe the tests don't necessarily aren't testing the way we're teaching anymore.
Yeah, can I add a point there? I went down this rabbit hole a little bit last night with, oh my God, our test scores, look at this, and look at our budget, and look at our class size, and what's happening to us. And my wife is a teacher, and she politely reminded me that, there's a lot of nuance in education, and that from a political perspective, big picture perspective, we like to have these numbers, these spreadsheets with, okay, everything tallies up, and look, we spent X amount of money, and now look at how great these kids are doing. I think the reality, and from what we saw tonight even, is that there's a lot that goes into it. And when we try to boil it down to one input gives us an output, we're missing the boat. Mm-hmm. And these kind of things are important to look at, obviously, but I think as we've done in the past meetings, we've seen lots of other examples of things that we're tracking and looking at, trying to help this process. So
Yeah.
I got out of that rabbit hole this morning. I thought I need to learn more. I need to visit with more teachers. I really need to spend more time digging into some of this stuff, because this looks grim, but I also feel that it's not as grim as this picture
And that's
would paint.
what I was saying, like, when you look at the GPAs, in that report that you gave us, and then the DNF rates, and you see, like, it's
Graduation
not
rates,
graduation, all
all
of
this
that,
stuff,
like, one of these things is not like the other.
Well, I wasn't really a big fan of, I still really am not a big fan of Common Core, but,
Yeah.
but so I don't know if you've played any board games and logic games with kids lately, but I'm blown away. Like they're seeing stuff in 3 dimensions, and they're kicking all these kids that come over and play these games. They're kicking my butt because they're looking at stuff completely differently than I was taught to look at stuff, and so I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just I guess what I'm intimating, and I'm not implying it. I'm just, because I don't know, but maybe we're not testing proper. I mean, if we really want to improve test scores, which I don't really think, testing, I don't think is the best way to, learn.
Well, and I really hate to see an average thrown out as a performance metric. I mean, an average hardly tells us a thing about
No.
what is actually going on with these kids. So-
I think it's important to look at the pattern, and I think the pattern is this. Before COVID, Carpinteria Unified had more than 50% of their students at and above grade level, according to the CASP in English Language Arts, and we scored higher than the county and the state. Math was lower. Math was in 45, 46%. And that was pretty steady before COVID. After COVID, however, though, what's really discouraging for us is that all the scores in California have, of course, been depressed. The county scores have. But for our particular district, we have done not as well in English Language Arts as we typically do in comparison to the county and the state. We've done better in math, but not in English Language Arts. And that surprises us because we have excellent teachers, we have small class sizes, and we have good curriculum. So we do expect to see a better performance on CASP. But like you've all discussed, is that that's just one assessment at one point in time. And as educators, we really look at the progress from August to June within our own curriculum and the goals that we're setting for our students with our formative assessments, which we're doing every 6 weeks. And so at the elementary level, we're monitoring the progress that students are making on these assessments that are more curriculum-based, as well as in the middle school and high school, we're looking at those GPAs, because that's how we're measuring the progress, their mastery of what teachers are teaching in the content areas.
Yeah, that really provides a truer picture in my mind of what's happening.
Yeah. But however,
there's a lot of good data here, but
we are challenged by it, and we are just not discouraged, but disappointed that that the CAF scores have not continued the pattern of being above, because we do expect our students to be closer to grade level and to perform higher than the state and the county in English Language Arts, as we had before COVID.
yeah, it is a warning sign.
It's
As
something
I
to,
see it, yeah.
it's something to continue with the conversation. But again, we're using all of the data points for our assessments, and our teaching staff really depends more on the curriculum-based assessments to evaluate student progress. And in terms of Common Core and the CASP is designed to assess the concepts you've learned through Common Core. So it is supposedly aligned.
Supposedly.
Yes, I say that.
I don't know
yeah.
that it is. I mean,
Well.
I've looked at some of the questions, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a question that Ms. Pursoon brought to us when they presented their school
Right.
site plan, and honestly, it was so confusing.
Well,
I
the
mean,
format is confusing.
no, that's
yes.
what I mean. The format of the
Yes.
question was confusing, and so if we're testing, and it wasn't a clear way of looking at. I don't think the way that it's formatted or even presented was the best way to assess someone's understanding of the subject, because it was confusing. I mean, it was not straightforward. And I mean, I know that's nothing to do with us because the CASP is a state thing, but
Right.
but I could easily see, unless we're teaching the kids how to look at confusing problems all the time.
No, we're not.
I know, and so I don't. I mean, it's almost like they have to throw a dart at because there's a question with some numerical with some equations that need to be answered, but the way you interpret the phrasing leads you to a different path as far as how you're going to calculate the answer. And I'm pretty good at math, and it really was confusing to me.
Yeah, I think that's a common complaint
Yeah.
of educators throughout the state in terms of that assessment, state
The
assessment.
academic
So-
language that the kids
Yes.
don't understand.
So, I mean, there is a lot of data in here, but it's really the same data that we looked at and discussed for the LCAP. You know, I mean, it's just
Yes,
it's just presented in a different format. It's I mean, it's interesting to look at the demographics, because it's much more clearly presented here, and especially in comparison to the state and the you know the local area.
County,
Yeah.
yes. Mhm.
It's just a lot of information. I would recommend that any parent who's interested, that they go on the website and look at it, because it does give you a pretty good idea of what the district demographics are, where we are, kind of where we're headed, you know, with our declining enrollment.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know, my daughter's been out of school now for going on 4 years, and her graduating class was close to 190. And if you look at the ninth grade, I think we're down to 150, under 100,
45.
yeah, just under 150. And then you look at the middle school, and they're 130-ish. So, and I know that's not unique to our district. It's kind of a problem that the state's facing, and the county is facing. But it doesn't really affect us negatively financially, because we're basic aid. But the surrounding districts who are not basic aid, it's really going to affect them in a bad way, because they get their funding through attendance. It's just you know, I think that the data is the demographics and the trends are really what this report is good for.
Yeah, it does break it out by group much better than some of the other ones, into a much finer, smaller classifications. It's not as broad.
What I've noticed,
I
though,
just- sorry.
is the class size. Our class size in
Yeah.
comparison to the county and the states are much lower.
That's what I was
And
going to touch on next.
which you would hope would translate into, you know, better learning, better responsiveness, higher achievement, and hopefully higher test scores. Haven't seen that yet, though.
No. Okay. Any further discussion? No? Okay. We have a first, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. Business operations and facilities, the warrants. The board is asked to approve the warrants for the period of January 9th, 24 through January 18th, 24 in the amount of $983,539.85. Warrants are issued once a week on Thursdays. The report format shows check number, check date, pay, brief account description, payment comment, and check amount. Any questions from the board on the warrants? No? Okay. Public comment on warrants, please step up to the podium.
So warrants have everything to do with the last topic, agenda topic, that you were discussing in regard to that they involve what we invest. And union leadership encourages you, as you look at warrants and you look at the last topic, to consider perhaps there's something telling in the difference between the internal metrics and measures, such as DNF rates, that district administrators have the ability to influence, and the external metrics that senior administrators do not have the ability to influence, like the CASP scores. As goes considerable the academic discrepancies, which are similar to, in fact, interestingly, the legal discrepancies you're receiving, it seems like it would be wise to consider what accounts for the big difference between the internal metrics that you're hearing about that are given to you and led by Ms. Rigby and the ones that people outside of the district recognize are actually happening. This time, the district's warrants reveal another $5,408 spent on undermining employee union leadership, bringing the 2-month total to well over $300,000 and the 2-year total to well over $2.5 million already paid, with another million or so pending in accrued debt as a result of the recent decision by the Commission on Professional Competence. How long will the students, their families, and the taxpayers of Carpinteria be paying this bill? How long will they suffer for your unwillingness to accept that your legal obligation to collaborate with legally elected and the sole representative of teachers and support staff, union employee leadership, stands before you and stands at all those school sites ready to do that work? How much more money will have to be squandered before you acknowledge that CAUSE is your only collective bargaining partner, and that both Ed Code and EERA laws ensure that we are a structural component of a unionized TK through 12 public school district like Carpinteria Unified School District? How many more millions of taxpayer dollars will you spend before you learn that you are not entitled to interfere, obstruct, or illegally attack the employee union or employee union leadership? We know you don't appreciate having your authority questioned. We know you don't appreciate having your performance scrutinized and put on full display to the community. We know you don't appreciate taking the time required to listen to the voices of those who work directly with students and families every day. We know you don't want to hear those voices that often share their professional perspectives on operational details and events that may not shine well on your professional trajectory, Ms. Rigby, or your political aspirations, some of the board members. We know your contempt and animosity well, and we, union leadership, are unfazed. Until district leadership's performance improves, union leadership will continue its laser focus on these warrants and on monitoring the actions and decisions of district leadership. And until district leadership does better, we can't help but wonder at what point this community will hold district leadership accountable. Thank you.
Student safety is our priority. And when the district receives complaints of inappropriate and unprofessional behavior by an adult towards kids, in this case, dozens of complaints, we will listen to them and we will investigate. After investigating the more than dozens of student and parent complaints of unsafe and unprofessional behaviors, we dismiss Mr. Hotchner in September of 2022. The legal process for teacher dismissal is many steps, complicated and costly in the state of California, and we will continue to defend our rights to dismiss Mr. Hotchner or any employee who is bullying and harassing students, interacting inappropriately, and crossing boundaries. We encourage everyone to read the Office of Administrative Hearing decision, which is available from the Office of Administrative Hearing website beginning January 25th. It will be publicly available for request. May I get a motion to approve the warrants?
I move to approve the warrants.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Gifts, grants, and donations. Grant donation from Teachers Fund to Carpinteria Unified School to CHS teacher Fabian Morales. The board is asked to accept the grant donation from Teachers Fund of $1,000 to CUSD Carpinteria High School teacher Fabian Morales for classroom materials to support student learning and engagement. Any questions? Public comment on G2A? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, G2B, donation from Joe Gigantino of Weights and Bars to Carpinteria Unified School CHS Athletics Weight Room. We're being asked to accept this donation valued at $1,637 to CUSD Carpinteria High School weight room, and I believe this isn't the first time he's donated towards this, correct?
Joe's Warrior Class 85
Okay.
alumni, so very appreciated.
Any public comment for G2B? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve with gratitude. Thank you, Joe.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Discussion? Thank you, Joe, again. All in favor?
Aye.
G2C, donation from John H. Mahler Family Foundation to Carpinteria Unified School, Summerland Elementary. The board is asked to accept the donation from John H. Mahler Family Foundation of $5,000 to Summerland Elementary School for educational, scientific, literary, religion, or other charitable purposes consistent with the grantee's tax-exempt status described in the grant terms. Any questions from the board? Okay. Public comment on G2C? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
With gratitude, I move to approve the donation from John H. Moeller family.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. G2D, donation from Chevron through CEF to CMS after-school fishing program. The board is asked to accept the donation from Chevron through Carpinteria Education Foundation of $20,000 to CUSD, Carpinteria Middle School after-school for the fishing program. These funds will significantly enhance the program's resources and opportunities for students. Any questions from the board? No? Okay. Public comment on G2D?
This comment addresses G2D and the previous gifts and donations. Just a quick up and down to thank the community members who provide grants and gifts to the CUSD without any unethical and unprofessional strings attached. Union leadership is committed to seeing that their valuable donations, this time approximately $28,000 in total, is invested towards our students and district families, as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve G2D?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
I'd just like to thank
Discussion?
Chevron. Yeah, I'd like to thank Chevron for being a great community partner. And,
Definitely.
Unfortunately, they're not going to be here for the long term, but while we have them, it's really great to see that they're supporting the community and our schools, and and also providing a lot of well-paying jobs.
Yeah.
That's it's too bad that we're going to be losing that that resource here, but it's great that they're involved.
Yeah, they've been a wonderful community partner for years with the district, supporting many different programs. This is through the Chevron Community Community Investment Program, and that is looking to specifically invest within the two areas where their stations are. So the one here in Carpinteria and the one up by Gaviota. And so there's more than this coming to our community, which is targeted towards the kids of our school district. It won't be coming necessarily through the school district, but through the Bluffs Foundation and other organizations in town that were able to also secure these grant funds. So thank you to Chevron Community Investments and their team, and for CEF for facilitating this for us. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Okay. G3, notice of completion for Summerlin Community Tennis Courts. Board is asked to approve the completed contract for the Summerlin Community Tennis Courts. On December 13th, 2022, the board approved the GMP with McGillivray Construction, Inc. in the amount of $124,029.60. The completed construction amount is $1,193,836.29. Pursuant to Civil Code Section 9204, a notice of completion must be filed within 15 days after the completion of the work or improvement. The district staff have inspected the project and are satisfied that all work has been completed per the contract documents. To ensure the district has received all preliminary 20-day and stop payment notices per Civil Code Sections 9300 and 9306, retention will be held for no more than 30 days. In accordance with Public Contract Code Section 7107, retention will be released within 60 days pursuant to Civil Code. Final notice of completion for McGillivray Construction, Inc. in the amount of $1,193,836.29. Any questions from the board?
It's great to see it completed. It's going to be a great
Getting
addition to
used.
Summerlin.
Yep, it's getting lots of use.
Yeah, I see it, the kids on there when I commute, because the only way to commute to Santa Barbara now is the back roads, essentially. And I also on the weekends, on my way to and from work on weekends, I see community members using it, and it's really wonderful to see how that's going to help bring the community there together. That wasn't a question, though. So, any public comment on the notice of completion for Summerlin Community Tennis Courts? Please feel free to step up to the podium. And seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
We'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion? Any further discussion? No. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. H, personnel summary. The board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items: 1 resignation and 1 coaching assignment. Any questions from the board? Okay. Public comment for H1, personnel summary.
Okay, so first and once again, a mid-year resignation of yet another CUSD instructional assistant without any new hires to backfill the position. No surprise here, it is yet another example of the concerning pattern associated with district leadership's hiring practices. Not only with this IA not provided full-time employment and access to fully funded health care, but he was hired into an environment where CUSD continues to drive a wedge between those who are recently hired and those who have served in the district for 5, 10, 15, and 20 years or more. Union leadership continues to draw your attention to the district's hiring practice, which is at the center of CUSD's challenges to hire and maintain instructional aides. Until the district does something to resolve the inequitable practice of hiring new employees at higher hourly wages than employees who provided consistent high-quality service in the district for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, it's unlikely that the district will stem the significant instructional aid transiency and the deficits we continue to experience. Second, union leadership wants to express its appreciation to Francisco Andrade, who has invested so much of his time and energy working with the kids in the community. His soccer programs have touched the lives of many families, and we're glad to see that he'll be working with kids at the middle school in a more permanent fashion. When I first arrived to the district as a teacher, now over 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of coaching both soccer and track at the middle school. And since then, the regional sports program was first reduced to an after-school club and then removed altogether. And this is a step with Mr. Andrade being brought on that is moving in the right direction. And we hope the district will invest in growing this new soccer club to meet the capacity and leadership talents that Mr. Andrade brings. For the sake of providing our middle school students productive opportunities to engage in healthy lifestyles and choices after school, union leadership would like to see the middle school sports program, not just soccer, but basketball and track and the other sports that it could be doing, feeding into the high school's program. We'd like to see those return to a more robust level that they had been funded at before Mr. Schaefer came onto the board and before Ms. Green came onto the board. So we hope that you'll consider that. Thank you.
I swear you make up stuff.
Okay. So just to clarify, the soccer program's been going on at the middle school for, 3 years now? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And we brought in volleyball, and we are working to bring in other programs as well. Oh, skateboarding, fishing, Okay. May I get a motion to approve the personnel summary?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Board announcements.
Well, I'm looking forward to rejoining the negotiating team and having our first meeting on Thursday. Be great.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, I'll say this is something that I have been interested in for quite a while. So I'm myself and Mr. Schaefer will be joining the negotiating team. And we are doing our best to get dates going. I know we offered a handful of dates, and we haven't had any positive confirmation of any of them, but as somebody who works 2 jobs in Santa Barbara during the day, I really appreciate any flexibility and time there. Beyond that, there is some really exciting stuff going on at City College, and no surprise, it has to do with what we call the blue economy, marine-based jobs. So I am really excited about it. But the Maritime Collective is moving forward, and City College programs such as the Dive Tech program are reevaluating what they're doing because there are no more offshore oil rigs being built or constructed, and the future of the Dive Tech program, they're looking at what that pivot is. And the City College is partnering with the Commercial Fishermen's Association of Santa Barbara and the Marine Biology Department with Michelle Paddock. They just presented at the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary Council meeting that I was at on last Friday. And there's going to be a lot of new programs getting introduced there. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for more dual enrollment and early college programs. And it's not just fishing. In fact, very little of it is actually fishing. It's support services, it's general blue economy, aquaculture, a lot of science-based work, but then also mechanical type work. Support services and things like that. So I'm really excited to see this taking off because it's going to open a whole nother avenue of potential CTE programming for the Santa Barbara County high schools to be able to add. So I'm really excited about that. And I also had the wonderful opportunity to attend Gerardo's Coffee with the Principal last Thursday. And parents at the high school, he does these once a month, and I really would encourage you to attend. It is a great time where you get one-on-one with the principal. He gives you updates. Most of the school sites, I believe, do it. I know, yeah, and in some form, and take advantage of it. It's one-on-one time with the principal. They typically have a general topic, but there's also room for questions or if there's something else pressing. And it was awesome. We had a teacher pop in. We had one of the assistant principals pop in. Yeah, great opportunity for communicating. Okay. We are down to, where is it? Oh, here we go. Last page here. Board calendar. It's just the regular calendar. Nothing's been added or changed, correct? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, future agenda items. We have our developer fee report and the 24-25 budget development coming up. Anything else on that? Any questions from the board on the future agenda items? Okay. Public comment on future agenda items?
So any of the following items would be valuable additions to future agendas, as each would provide an opportunity for actual and actionable improvement across the district. The request for board resolution to notify and educate students and families of the 4 rules for kids who find themselves in proximity to a firearm without parental supervision. An examination of the union's proposal to provide district-wide first aid and CPR training to all district employees to ensure that all those working directly with students are trained, all those working with students are trained to the level they are most capable. And a full and transparent examination of the impact of the district's exorbitant legal costs and lost opportunities for students and district families. And with that in mind, the school board and local media have recently been provided a complete copy of a public information request on this topic. The requested data is intended to help our board trustees in the community better understand the scope and impact of what we understand to be between $2.5 million and $3.5 million spent on attacks and efforts to undermine the efficacy of union leadership and the contributions we bring to the district, its students, and its families. Interestingly, even though the requested information was focused on the district's legal costs, for the last 3 years, which it is very familiar with, the district responded stating, quote, that the district cannot identify, collect, and review disclosable responsive records without reason or with reasonable effort. Almost comedically, the district also responded that, quote, the district notes that your request is objectionable because the expense and inconvenience to the district anticipated clearly outweighs the public interest served by the disclosure of the requested records. Really. The minimal expense of simply sharing, emailing, that is, documents already in the district's possession, which the district leadership should have been reviewing all along, outweighs the investment of $2.5 to $3.5 million taxpayer dollars. Really? That's absurd. This really should be included as a future agenda item because one would have thought that after the district spent $2.5 to $3.5 million on attacking union leadership, it would have at least been keeping clear records of those expenditures, which could easily be examined and shared at the request of either a school board trustee or a member of the public. Yet it doesn't appear that these legal costs were being thoroughly examined by our board members, who appear to have provided Superintendent Rigby a blank check for her illegal actions. Because the district stated that, or as the district states, it anticipates having the first set of records ready for our review on or about, get this, April 2024. So please don't wait 2 months to include this topic on a future board agenda, because we know that if you demanded to examine the district's legal costs, it wouldn't take 2 months to produce those documents. Seriously, wouldn't this make a more worthy agenda topic? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any future agenda items requested by the board? Nope. Okay, and we are adjourned.
Those little white lies, the stars.